Okay, so I never got my drink, but this is the part 2 of the MK Ultra victim targeted individual real life true story I'm speaking out on. So I was targeted in a plaza on Jonyang Parkway and Sand Lake Road, as well as Destination Parkway in Jonyang and Destination and Universal Boulevard in Orlando. Okay, I am a targeted individual. Prior to this, I was a shamaness. I was a practicing medicine woman because it was in my bloodline on my mother's side. And I was a real life psychic. I have psychic powers, and this is why I was preyed upon as well. Besides my dad being in the Freemasons, having connects to the military through his reign in Vietnam, to where I did want to say that he wanted to leave before he could fight on the front lines. So what he did was he freaked out. This is according to his story. When they were on the ship with the Navy going towards Vietnam, okay, to fight on the front lines, and he freaked out, and then he later kept admitting in a state of what seemed like a frenzy of mania, saying, haha, I did that on purpose. Smart, huh? Like, and smoking, puffing a cigarette, yeah, so I could get checks and take care of my family. To where, like, I'm pretty sure he was targeted and he had those electromagnetic rays, brain waves. And he also had microwave programming, and he also had the V2K technology and all of this stuff in his brain. So everything that like right now I'm doing this video, they could see me from my phone. Um, they also want me to put the phone up to my ear and tell them information because I have the implant in me. One day in the plaza, I woke up in my car and there was this thing in the shape of an earthworm, and it was right here. I'll never forget it. And I was like, what the hell? And I would move it through my forehead, and within 2 to 3, not even 5 minutes, it disintegrated into my brain. It was weird. To the point where they either put it in me when I was sleeping or they put it in one of my drinks or my food because they were drugging me and my girls' drinks and my foods. So, yeah, through Denny's. And the government had all of the workers in on this, you guys. And I'm not paranoid. I remember everything that they did to us. To where it was just so trifling, and it was just so like horrific, and looking back at it, it was so traumatizing because they wanted me to be like this Lilith of the plaza, to where like they wanted me to just give it up to like everyone they were sending me so they could just laugh. Okay, so let me just go back so I could try to tell the story in order, but I can't promise anything because sometimes my trauma doesn't allow me, and it's also programming, it doesn't allow me to tell true life events in order, to where it seems scattered and it doesn't make sense to mortals, or like normal people, I mean. So we ended up in the car in the plaza, parking on the far end of Restaurant Store Orlando, in between the Denny's, which is now shut down, and the McDonald's outside of the Walmart, because there's two of them. There's the McDonald's inside the Super Walmart on Jonyang and West Sand Lake, and then there's the McDonald's outside, to where the head woman, excuse me, the corporate woman, she owns this, and she's a Caucasian woman, okay? And so every morning I noticed when me and my girls got there was there was this couple in McDonald's, and there was this woman who was like kind of heavy set, no offense, not body shaming or fat shaming, but she had dark brown hair and she had a husband, and they were a little bit older, okay? And they would sit and he would like read the newspaper. They would have breakfast in McDonald's every morning and she would be on her laptop, but they were there like monitoring everybody, part of it. It was sick. And then there was this other man that went in, who was definitely a reptilian from the elite. I knew this, and I sensed the spirit, because I know the lizards of reptilians because I've seen it in my mother, and then I also have seen an Andromedan / a Draconian in my nephew's body, to where I'm profoundly gifted with my psychic gifts, and I could see the spirits in bodies. And I also have like a lie detector test to where I could see through the motives of people, and these were just my natural born gifts and abilities that I was given before, even before the MK Ultra, before the subjection to MK Ultra, to where this is why they preyed on me, because I was born with otherworldly gifts and I could see through this. And it's almost like Will Smith in I Am Legend, to the point where in Will Smith and I Am Legend, he was programmed, or he was like subjected to the zombie, apocalypse, but the injections, he was immune to it to where it didn't affect him. To where that was like me, in the plaza. Like, they would put all of these aborted baby parts in the McDonald's food, yes. Then they had this woman go to me and be like, she picked me up in the rain one night after they targeted me really hard. And I'm looking at the fight. I'm looking at one of the jets. And so she targeted me in the rain, and she was just like, "Oh, I wanted to pick you up," because they were putting powders in my feet to walk a lot. Okay. I would sleep with my feet hanging out my window, like thinking I'm a free spirit, thinking like everything was okay, whatever. Everything wasn't okay. Like, I wanted to live my life like away from all the targeting that they made my family do to me. So like at this point I was like starting a new life, and I thought everything was all good. I thought doors were going to open. I thought I was going to make it out there. Like, I literally tried, like, I tried to get a job at like a fast food place and then like a burrito company, and I just kept getting targeted. Like, so the first dude that they sent to me was this dude named David Cotelis, and he was this white dude from Michigan, and he had 2 chihuahuas. And he targeted me in McDonald's, or in the parking lot actually, because he was sleeping like in his car next to me, to where like I had to shut the door, and I forgot to. I was so tired that I left the door open because it was so hot. It was spring going into summer, and it was so humid. Okay, to the point where, and the reason why I look around a lot is because my dad, when I was little, he was like, "Oh, look at my eyes when I'm talking to you," and he would like intimidate the fuck out of me and put like fear and intimidation tactics in me. So like, I'd be looking around a lot when I speak, and I'm very aware of my surroundings, and then I'm also very like thought minded. Like, I think a lot. So David Cotelis came to us, and he was like, "Oh, let me, let me buy you breakfast," and I'm just like, "No, I'm okay." And then so like we go into McDonald's, like we wash up because it's the morning time. We come back out, and literally he comes to my car with a bag of food and his 2 dogs. And my daughters are like so happy. And for some reason he knows about a frappe, which me and my daughter used to drink, which is weird, which the government knows everything. So he was paid by these people to come to me, and I didn't know it at the time. To where that was the first person they sent, to where like they tried to get him to front and say he was going to buy an RV or a trailer for us to live in, and then he was trying to take me to church and like condition me and program me like with my girls, but it didn't work. I wasn't attracted to him, and he ended up being a rager and just very verbally abusive, to where I ended up leaving. Like, and then he comes back into McDonald's one day when the girl's dad comes and co-parents and picks them up, and I'm alone in there, and then I'm on my phones because I had 2 phones at the time, and then he hangs over the table and he's like, "Remember me? Hi." And I look at him and I like run out of there. And then they send me another guy named Hamza Noor, also known as Hamza El Eliani, which who knows his real fucking name. I think he goes by Hamza El Eliani, and he's a cashier at one of the stores in that plaza. So he comes out, or no, I meet him inside, and he like locks eyes with me, like for like 2 minutes straight, and it's like tunnel vision, and like the whole world just goes like numb, to the point where I'm just like, no, nobody else is around except for him and me, and I'm with my daughter in the checkout line, but they're taking forever, and I'm at a different register. So I go back in there because, I live in my car, so every day, like, I need to go and get food and toiletries to survive, like baby wipes in that Walmart, because I have what I need since I didn't have a house. So I went in there again, and then, like, I went through his line, and then, like, he starts talking to me. And he's like, "What do you want to, like, where are you from?" And I was like, "Italy." He's like, "Italy?" Because he's Moroccan. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to move to Florence." And he's like, "Florence? Italy?" And I'm like, "Yes, I really want to go there." And then I was like, "Something's wrong with my phone. I've been charging it at McDonald's for like hours, and there's like an energy drain to where like I can't for some reason charge it." And he's like, "Oh, let me help you." And then he goes to customer service and gets he puts it on there, and they're all looking at him, like all the customer service women, which they're like Jamaican and Haitian and African American, and some of them are Hispanic and Latina, and they're getting jealous, and I could feel the vibe. And like right when they saw him light up and talk to me like that, they were shooting him dirty looks, to where he started changing his like narrative to me, because they were like making fun of me, saying, oh, she lives in her car with her daughters, she's probably a shit mother, she probably had a drug problem, she's probably a prostitute, and just like making up lies and rumors and smear campaigns, like what they know best to do. And I didn't know this at the time. Like, I just thought that people had the same like big heart than me. I was literally very naive, and you know, it was just a lot, to the point where, you know, I was living my life, I was trying my best to start over. I didn't think people were gonna do me like so dirty, and it was just like, before you know it, just like everybody turned against me. Everybody did, to the point where like I was like trying so hard to, you know, I really was trying to make it out there. I really was trying, and they just shut my roads down. Like, they got me fired from my jobs. There was another guy that came out there. But let me just finish telling you about Hamza, because they had me thinking that he put this obsession spell on me because he had this trident on his IG profile, which the trident is connected to the Roman god of Neptune, connected to Poseidon. And at the time, you know, different deities would come to me. So Aphrodite, I was, you know, her daughter. And Poseidon and Aphrodite, they had a, you know, relationship with each other, to the point where, you know, they had a sexual, like a lover relationship, to where like he was Poseidon and I was Aphrodite. And that was only one of the goddesses that's come to me. I'm very spiritually adept and awakened, and I've had many spiritual ascensions, to the point where like this is why they also don't like me, because I'm very in tune and I'm very aware, and they want to construct that. They want to constrict that. They want to make me feel paranoid. They want to, you know. And lately they've been doing this thing to my skin, and they've been like making my just certain parts of my body hurt where like they weren't hurting before. To where like I'm icing myself, and like I took a bath, but like for some reason the heat was aggravating certain parts of my body. And they could do this too. Hang on, you guys. I just gotta reach over and get my energy drink, because I ran out of this Apple Orchard stuff that I got. So yeah, certain parts of my body are hurting now. I'm drinking this right now, Monster juice. But back to the true life story. So sorry, you guys, I get a little bit of sinuses here, and then I burn my ground sage to where like I have to. But so Hamza would come to my car, and he would be like, and I'm watching my pit bull. My brother's pretty. Laylee. Laylita Bonita, my baby. Layla. You want tuna? Anyways, she watches too. She knows. She's smart. She'll be watching the planes. She's very keen and alert. She knows. But so he would come to my car, and the first night he came to my car, he was nice, and he brought like shish kebabs and like wings, like boneless wings and bone-in wings from 7-Eleven for my daughters, and brought us food, which was sweet. And he sat in the car with me, and he was like, hello. He was like, you're my girlfriend now. And I was like, you want me? Okay. And mind you, we were in Denny's, and they were giving us free food, giving it to my daughters to bring to me, and we would be eating in the car, which I thought was very nice. And I thought they were just being like nice, and I thought it was kind of like charitable, because we lived in our car, and I was just like, thank you. You know what I mean? To where it was like hash browns, and then it was like, you know, sausage links, and then it was like bacon, and then it was like some of the pancakes. And then I noticed after the food, I was like this in my car one day. And I was just like looking at the sun. And so, but rewind. With Hamza, he came the first night, and he was like, you're my girlfriend. And I'm just like, usually American men, if they know that you're like a single mom, they just want you for one thing, you know. They're just like, oh, she's claimed for, like, she's already had someone else's baby, like, we just want to fuck around and have fun. So I'm just like, you want me? And he's like, yeah. He was like, you're my girlfriend. And then he saw the car seat in the back of my car, and he was like, with me, you're going to have 4. And I was already drugged at this point, my Denny's food. So I wasn't really thinking of anything. And he was just kissing my neck and then kissing my lips. And so he was like, "You're my girlfriend." And he was like, "I want you to be my wife. I want you to be one of my wives. I want to take you back to Morocco and you meet my mother." And he was like hugging and loving on me and kissing me. And I haven't had affection in so long. So I was just like eating this affection up, and I was very happy. To the point where they got to him too. Because, okay, he literally, I remember his car was like 5 spots down from my car. And there was this guy named Jamin McDonald who was an overnight waiter in Denny's. And then there was this black guy with dreads, and he was running from the McDonald's next to the Denny's back and forth to Denny's to Jamin. And Jamin was moving fast. And at this time, I didn't even know Jamin's name. But Jamin will come into play in this real true life story later. So they acted like they were videotaping me and Hamza. So obviously, you know, they wanted to set me up, and they wanted to be like, okay, like, they wanted to get me for prostitution so, like, the girls could go into the system, because nobody wanted to see the girls and me struggle and live in the car. They were like, "Oh, it's not right." But they didn't know that, you know, I was denied housing from Section 8, and I was denied housing from HUD housing lists, and I was denied child support. So I was going through some shit. Hang on, you guys. They're doing this thing to my eye to where I can't really see out of it right now, and they're hurting my skin to where it's like throbbing, and there's no medical fucking diagnosis for it. It's fucked up what the government does. And then so like he comes again the next night, and then like my car stops somehow. It was an electric car. It was a Nissan Leaf. And so he's like, nice. And he's like, "I'm going to talk to my friend, and I'm going to see if, like, you know, he could send, like, a mechanic out here." I'm like, "Oh, for an electric car?" He's like, "Yeah." So meanwhile, me and my daughters are walking, and then the next day, and I'm, like, waiting for him to come to my car with the car mechanic. And then this woman, she's a waitress at Denny's named Elsa. She's smoking a cigarette, sitting on the curb. She's like, "You got kids living in that car?" Like, nasty. And I just walk past her and ignore her. And then there was a Spanish woman named Gloria, and she was like, she kept just giving me dirty looks, okay? And these people worked in Denny's, and like we were like overnight on that row. And mind you, I didn't know that it was like a prostitution row at one point. I did not know it was a sex row, that people pull up and they fuck around on that row. I did not know that they have sex. I literally used to live in the hotels behind there. I had no idea, and that was 5 years prior. So I'm like living in the car with my daughter. So then we get targeted by this black guy with a huge van, who's also, he has a bunch of surveillance tapes. He watches people in the plaza. The government pays him just enough money to survive, to have gas money, all this stuff. Then he's got green eyes. He's Haitian. Then there's another guy in a taxi van, and he was trying to prey on my daughters. And then there was this other girl that came up to me named Nina Green, and she's all like trying to be nice. And she says that she lost her kids because she had a bad drug problem. She was addicted to something called Molly. I don't know. I've never done that before. And then she was just like, this was like years ago, but then she took a job. She got sober. You know, she took a job, and then she started paying her baby daddy child support. And she was like, "Can I help you out? Is it okay if I could take the girls like overnight to my apartment?" At this point, I was being drugged in my food and my drinks, to where I would go and get like fountain drinks out of 7-Eleven, like Mountain Dew or Triple X water with my EBT card, and they literally would put drugs in it, to where like they would do this to the food, to people there, like in the burgers, the $5 meals at McDonald's, the chicken nuggets at McDonald's, which is part of the $5 meals, the McChickens, the French fries. It was like these brown specks, and then everybody was like acting different. They were just like, their mannerisms were the same. The girls were dressing alike. It was just weird. It was like everybody like acted the same there, but like I was the only one that was different, and they knew I stood out, and they knew. So I was being targeted to the point where like, okay, so Hamza came back the next day, or it was like the next evening after work. And let me upload this video, and then I'm going to go back into what Hamza did.